Hello, and welcome back to Walkman Phones. This is Paul. Today, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Essential PH-1, also known as the Essential phone. Um, Kind of been a sad week. Essential Products informed everybody a couple days back that they are going to be no longer in business. No more phones, no home. They were working on something that was kind of like a Google Home assistant type thing. Um, this, this stands as the only thing that they got out the door. The Essential PH-1 or the Essential phone. This came out in late summer 2017, and at the time it was really looked at as, I don't want to say revolutionary, but it was a big step forward. It was the first phone to do the little teardrop notch cutout, which was really slick at the time. And if you could see, it's kind of hard with my lighting, there's a really thin strip up top, and that's your speaker, so you can hear your phone calls, and there's a little tiny LED light in there. So the whole thing is basically screen, 5.7 inch screen, I want to say. Minimal bezel down below, so it wasn't full on all screen, but the screen to body ratio was pretty killer back in 2017. This was a little bit before the iPhone 10 came out. They beat them to market by about almost a month. But obviously once the iPhone hit, the hype for this phone kind of got swept under the rug, along with the fact that out of the gates, the camera on this was not very good. Or at least, it's hard to say. I haven't had any problems with this camera. The shutter's a little slow, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just not that picky with cameras, and I'll go ahead and say I'm not that picky with cameras. But the major publications at the time sort of trashed this phone. They wanted $700 for it, unlocked. The only carrier you could get it through was Sprint, and in my opinion, that hurt it pretty badly from jump. Having a carrier be involved was better than nothing, but it was Sprint, and not to rag on people who have Sprint or anything like that, but it's probably the worst to try to push your phone in terms of, it's the fourth biggest carrier. The phones are locked to the network. So that means you have to buy your phone through Sprint. You can't bring another phone in. And also the fact that it was unlocked, you were getting updates from Essential, right? Clear and free. If you were on Sprint, you were held up. I mean, that's the case with most, but you were held up by the carrier. And I don't know. It was a sad way to go, because the phone really had promise. As you could see, they did a lot of things that were different with it. The back, ceramic. The sides, titanium, perfectly flush design, nothing sticking out, flat cameras. It's actually a dual camera. One of them is a monochrome sensor along with your regular sensor, your fingerprint scanner. And up here, they wanted to do something that was kind of cool, but even when I heard about it, I knew it probably wasn't going to get off the ground. It was similar kind of to what Motorola was doing with their Moto mods, where you could have different accessories that would latch onto the phone. And the first thing they did was they came out with a 360 camera. It would lock on here and kind of sit like this. I heard it wasn't all that great. I never really had much interest in it. I wanted the charging dock that was supposed to come. I'm using the box as what it would have been, but I really wanted the charging dock to come out for it. That never happened. They got the 360 camera out of the gate, and then they got down the line, maybe about a year, they got an HD headphone adapter, I want to say. So, high quality audio, because there's no headphone jack, as you can see. But they did give you a nice braided dongle, and that's every phone now. I'm sorry, but I'm tired of people kind of giving hard time to phones that don't have headphone jacks. No phones have headphone jacks anymore, and this is Walkman phones, and if I can get over it, you can get over it. It's not that big of a deal. We're never going back. The only phones that are going to have the headphone jacks going forward seem to be of the mid-range variety. That could change. I don't see it, but who knows? Anyways, back to Essential and what they were trying to do here. This phone runs a complete stock Android experience. There is no skin whatsoever. This is basically a Pixel, the way this runs. And it's been fantastic. I've had absolutely no issues with it whatsoever. And the great part about it was the support behind it. So not only was Essential really committed to trying to push the boundaries with the materials that they used and the screen to body ratio, but then on top of it, they did updates like crazy. I mean, they knew that their camera wasn't all that great or needed tweaking. They constantly tweaked the camera, constantly sent out updates. This phone started out on Android 7, all right? It got updated to Android 8, it got updated to Android 9, and it got updated to Android 10. That's beyond impressive, okay? And this was all happening right when newer versions of Android were hitting the Pixels. This phone was getting new versions of Android. And security patches every month, right on time, no problems. Now, with this latest news, unfortunately, they had planned on supporting the phone with security patches through the end of summer. That's not going to happen now. So everybody with an Essential phone, we're on our own, unfortunately. And it's not that surprising to me, to be honest. I mean, when a phone doesn't take off the way they need it to, the way the OEM needs it to, the writing's kind of on the wall. We've had bigger companies attempt to do phones. Red last year, and Red's a big, rich company that makes really, really expensive cameras. They failed making a phone and decided we're not making any more phones. The company NextBit a couple years ago had the Robin, and that didn't do well, and they were bought up by Razer, and then Razer has released a couple of different phones that also have not done well. And it just goes to show that if you're not a mainstay in the market these days, it's really not going to go well for you. It's very, very hard. Like I said, they wanted $700 unlocked. It wasn't a crazy price, but when you have these other people, these other companies that are making phones that you know, and you can get them in any store, it's pretty easy to see why it's hard for the smaller guys, or the unknowns, to get anything done and have some kind of staying power. I wish it was different, because I absolutely love when we get to see different manufacturers pop up and throw their hat in the ring, but there's so many that just fall by the wayside. And, even bigger companies like Red, or, I remember years ago I loved my little Panasonic Aluga that it just didn't take, and that was a big company that did that. And it's sad, Essential was working on something called Project Gem, which was going to be their successor to this phone. And that was supposed to be, kind of looked like a TV remote, thin, tall, narrow. And it was supposed to be more voice activated than anything else. I don't know. It would have been cool to see them try it, but they said they ran out of money. And that didn't surprise me, because launching a phone is massively expensive. And then on top of that, you need to really, really have it go well in order to make another phone. That's just the way that goes. So unfortunately, they're gone, and this is now a collector's item of sorts. It's a museum piece. Everything still works on it, obviously. If you've got it, there's no reason to really jump ship or anything like that right now. No more security patches are coming. We already received the last version of Android that we were going to get. So, in all actuality, this phone is still ahead of the curve on a lot of phones that came out afterwards, which is crazy, from bigger companies. It's got the newest version of Android, and it's got the February security patch. Not too many phones can say that are, from the last year or two ago. So they'll be missed, but we're on to the next one. We're always looking for new stuff, and yeah, so RIP Essential, and hopefully we have another contender pop up here somewhere. And yeah, it's always good to have new players in the game, and every time something like this happens, it makes me worry for some of the other phone companies that don't do as well, or just aren't the big heavy hitters in the market, like Sony or LG. HTC's basically left the American market already. It's just sad. So we'll see where it goes, and I just wanted to make a little tribute to the phone, and show off this really cool piece that didn't have any logos, and just was meant to be a bare bones Android experience. So all right, that's it for now. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.